principles. In the blue corner, wearing the white trunks with the black trim and the black lettering, he is weighing in at 174 3/4 pounds. From Camden, New Jersey, the challenger, the Camden Buzzsaw, Dwight Braxton. And his opponent in the red corner, wearing the black trunks with the gold trim and the gold lettering, he is tipping the scales at 174 1/2 pounds. From Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, the World Boxing Council Light Heavyweight Champion, Nakir Saad Mohammed.
All right, we're about ready for the action. It's a 20-by-20 ring, 10-point must scoring system, 3 knockdown rule. Wave the tail of the tape being set before you. Again, Saad Mohammed had to take off 3 pounds this morning. That shows you the height differential and the reach edge that I've already referred to, but Braxton has a way of diminishing that edge. This one could be a war. It figures to be a tough fight. And Saad Mohammed's stamina, perhaps a key question. Arthur McCanny, the third man in the ring, the best there is in all the world at what he does. And the knockdown timer, the alternate referee, Tony Perez, himself a distinguished third man in the ring. The bell for the start of round 1. I'll watch to see if Saad Mohammed keeps trying to work that jab to box the opponent, and thus, in a sense, change his style. Try to keep Braxton off.
Bring it up.
45 seconds into the fight, Saad Mohammed is at the moment wary, trying to use that left. We are using a new camera above ringside, just above it at ringside, and it operates by remote control, a development of the ABC engineering department. It's first used by us in the Holmes-Leon Spinks fight. The Holmes-Snipes fight, I should have said. Obvious strategy by Saad Mohammed in this first round. Keep Dwight Braxton off him using the left jab, boxing. Wild amateurish lunge by Braxton. Trying to get in to fight his fight the way he did against Rossman and against Scott. 30 seconds to go. Round 1 counting down as you can see.
30 seconds. Bring it up. Bring it up. It's got the school. 15 seconds. Bring it up when you get inside. Bring it up.
End of the round here. Round 2. Between rounds, Sam Solomon, trainer, in Saad Mohammed's corner. You did exactly right. Keep that left hand in his face. Don't let him get inside of it. Strategy, ring tactics, So far, at least in planning, being established in the first round. But Braxton will keep coming, or trying to. Lal Muhammad is the manager. Saad Muhammad, Wenzel McCall and Wesley Muzan are the co-managers of Braxton.
That's right, champ. Manhandle. Control. Control top, champ. Control. Over champ. Control.
Doubled up quickly on the left. Braxton did. Saad Muhammad's left hand held at his side, leaving him perhaps susceptible to the right. See where the left is? Just heard from the corner, perhaps, in the background. You've got your left hand too low, and Sam Solomon is right. More than halfway through the second round. Good right by Saad Muhammad. Another good right. And the left went in there. He's fighting cleverly. Braxton not able to get to him. Using the left there. Doubling with it. And saving the right for whatever. Another good right. He's fighting his way. And he may have hurt Braxton. No, Braxton grins and leers, saying, I'm not hurt. Forget it. But the one possible, a good right by Braxton hurt Saad Muhammad. You saw it. He kept that left hand low once too often. And now Braxton is getting to him. And this is in the more familiar pattern of Braxton fights. Suddenly it happened with 40 seconds left in the round. The right that stunned Saad Muhammad. 10 seconds left in the second round as suddenly the action grew, and he's gotten in 3 good rights and 1 good left, Braxton has, and he's pouring the blows on Saad Muhammad. And the bell for round 3, and as I said, this one could be a war. Smiling and leering, Braxton waiting for the opportunity, quickly trying to double on the left. It suddenly became a war when Saad Muhammad continued to make the mistake of keeping that left hand at his side in the manner of Thomas Hearns. And Hearns paid for that against Sugar Ray Leonard. Here, 30 seconds into the third round. Still fighting according to battle plan is Saad Muhammad. Boxing, trying to conserve himself. But once he was stunned by that initial right, he found himself wide open for a succession of blows, and he was hurt. But he has those remarkable recuperative powers. A warning about a low blow from Arthur McCanny, the referee, to Dwight Braxton. Now he's keeping his hands up, Saad Muhammad is. Working the left. Boxing Braxton. Eddie Mustafa Muhammad, a close friend of Saad Muhammad's, a past light heavyweight champion himself, in Saad Muhammad's corner, imploring him to keep his hands up. Braxton getting in the left, not once but twice, and then a third and fourth time. But Braxton, his head snapped back by a sharp Saad Muhammad left. Less than a minute to go in the third round. In this round, Braxton not able to get, although he's trying here to get to Saad Muhammad, and he snaps Saad's head back with a left. It's hard to fight off when he gets inside like that. Mr. Braxton is. Saad Muhammad staying in ring center. A good right to the kidney area. We'd like to alert our local stations along the line that at the end of this round, we will take a station break. We'll be back with more of the WBC Light Heavyweight Championship fight. This from our local stations. Round 4 is underway here in Atlantic City. WBC Light Heavyweight Championship at stake. Matthew Saad Muhammad, his 9th defense to the right of your screen. Dwight Braxton, the challenger, number 5 rated contender, now to the right. Trying to move inside and getting there more frequently as the 3rd round terminated. And remember the way he came on as the 2nd round was in its final moment. Good blows by Braxton on the inside, hurting Saad Muhammad. That's the way Braxton likes it. Get that head on the other man's shoulder and pummel away with those snapping blows that take so much of your stamina away and hurt so much. He's got a body carved in concrete, Braxton does. Against the ropes, he continues his attack. Saad Muhammad getting the punishment. But we've seen this pattern so many times before. When will it be once too many? Uppercuts snapping Saad Muhammad's head, as you saw. Good right lead by Saad Muhammad, then a left. But Braxton's doing the damage in this round. Now Saad Muhammad trying to come to life. Blood coming out of Saad Muhammad's nose, all over his upper lip. Yes, it is a war. Less than a minute to go in the 4th round. Look at Braxton laying it on Saad Muhammad. Braxton is the one pinioned in the corner, but the one doing the punching. Saad Muhammad trying to come to life, and did with a good right. But Braxton is having a tremendous round. Look at the blood coming out of Saad Muhammad's nose. Now Braxton going down to the midsection just momentarily. Once he's positioned inside, he uses the uppercut effectively, as you have seen. That's the end of round 4, and we'll go to Saad Muhammad's corner. Wiping out off the blood immediately, coming out of the nose. Braxton's infighting, a terrific early 4th round attack. Watch. Right and the left. Another right. Man pinioned in that corner. It was Braxton who threw the furious blows with Saad Muhammad's face and head. The target.
Get tired, man. Get tired.
Saad Muhammad being spoken to in his corner. Sam Salam, Adolf Rataka, Salim El Amin. Those are the men in Saad Muhammad's corner.
He's tired, son. He's tired.
There's Braxton. And the bell for round 5. That's what's at stake. saw what Mercani said. They can boo him, but they don't know what they're booing about. Arthur Mercani keeps better position and control of a fight than any referee within my memory. And I'm in this business 30 years and more. 45 seconds into the 5th round. Now Saad Muhammad trying to answer back, trying to recapture the control of the fight that he showed in the 1st round when he used his left so effectively. Braxton will have none of it. Working more often where he can to the midsection. One must wonder if this time Saad Muhammad will not have the recuperative powers of the past. Look at that right lead. Muhammad holding his left low again. Braxton hurt him. Less than a minute left in this, the 5th round. The blood flow has not been reopened by Braxton from Saad Muhammad's nose. Mustafa Muhammad imploring Saad to keep those hands up, meaning specifically the left. Half-minute left. Approaching the end of an action-packed 5th round and an action-packed fight. Round 6, Matthew Saad Muhammad against Dwight Braxton, and the two have really been going at it. WBC light heavyweight crown at stake. Braxton is proving himself a worthy contender.
Watch him, champ. Keep your mind on him. Get down, champ. Look for the ropes, champ. Look for the hook. Looking for the hook. Looking for the hook, champ. Watch him, champ. Watch him, champ. Let's watch him.
Braxton staying the aggressor.
Use the left hand. Use that jab, champ. Come on, use it. You got it, champ. You got it. Use that. Flip, champ, flip.
Good right again by Braxton. The most telling blow of the round. And that opens Saad Muhammad up to another onslaught by Braxton. See it there in the infighting. And again, that's the familiar Braxton position. Head on the opponent's shoulder. We have a minute to go in the 6th round.
Come on, champ. Back it out of there. Use that jab, champ. Come on. Come on, man. Get up. Right hand on top.
You saw that left spin Saad Muhammad's head back. that missed by Braxton, a left that connected, and Saad Muhammad trying to continue with boxing basics, using the left jab to keep Braxton at bay, but not succeeding as he did at the very start of the fight. First to the belly, then to the head, and more blood from the nose, and Braxton all over Saad Muhammad. The end of the round. Now we'll stay here live in Atlantic City, New Jersey. There's the blood being wiped away again from Saad Muhammad's nose.
What are you waiting for? When you gonna get him?
Sam Solomon talking to Saad Muhammad. When are you going to get him? Bilal Muhammad, the manager, coming over to look at my scoring, which is strictly subjective, of course, as you're looking again at Braxton giving it to Saad Muhammad. I have Braxton slightly ahead at this point. But when one scores cards, and you saw that grinning leer from Braxton as he left Saad Muhammad in ring center at the end of the round. And you can see the confidence in Braxton's face. The Camden buzzsaw, they call him, because he so often fights. All 5 feet 6.5 inches of him from a crouch, and presents often a difficult target. Those of you who follow boxing, the terrible punishment Saad Muhammad took from Yaki Lopez. But then he KO'd Lopez in the 14th, knocking him down 4 times. Good right by Braxton, and that fatal deficiency. There's a left, keeping that left too low. Minute into round 7. Blood from the left nostril again of Saad Muhammad. Can't make breathing easy. Eye of Braxton is puffing considerably from that left jab of Saad Muhammad's. Seconds left in round 7. Action speaking for itself. You saw that uppercut shoot Saad Muhammad's head up, and another one. Once Braxton is inside of you, and again a quick snapping right. That's when Braxton can chew you up. Working the right uppercut there as much as he could. And the left. And we are approaching the end of the 7th round of this WBC light heavyweight title fight. All right, let's look at that left that hurt Saad Muhammad. There it was. Sam Solomon as we begin round 8, just saying to Saad Muhammad, you're blowing the title, man. Yes, it is round 8, and Braxton has been all over Saad Muhammad for the last 4 rounds. Will the stamina be there throughout this fight. Will Saad Muhammad be able to come back? Has the weight loss affected that stamina? There is no movement, as you can see, in Saad Muhammad. He is essentially flat-footed. A minute and 10 seconds into round 8. And for the 5th straight round, the pattern has been unchanging. It has been Braxton all over the champion. Uppercut. Right leads over a low left hand. A left hand getting in there occasionally and hurting the champion. Like that, for instance, and there. No movement from Saad Muhammad. Outbox a man, you've basically got to have movement. There's that right lead. Blood again pouring out of Saad Muhammad's nose. And Braxton knows what his opportunity is here now. In the short uppercuts. Incessant blows by White Braxton. The leather keeps coming. "25 seconds and counting down, as you can see. Round 8. We are back live in Atlantic City, round 9, and Bilal Muhammad, the manager of Matthew Saad Muhammad, is shaking his head. He too is concerned that this time his fighter will not have the resiliency of the past. There doesn't seem to be any snap, any spark. Braxton's tactics are unwavering. Left doubled up on Saad Muhammad's face. Already the blood from Muhammad's nose. Minute into the 9th round. We'd like to alert our local stations along the line that at the end of this round we'll take a station break. And there is Braxton at it again. Blood all over the desk in front of the reporter. Corner applauds Saad Muhammad. Get off, get off. But that left jab amounts to a paw now. Terms of punishment registered. Arthur McCanny has no voice in the scoring, only the judges. But he has a marvelous method for scoring a fight. He breaks a round down into 3 separate minutes. And I'd like to see how he would be scoring this fight. Saw those 2 lefts. Is having more target practice now. For a while, the left pawing held him at bay. Now, inside, look at that.
Get off the rope! Get off the rope!
And we will be back with more of the WBC World Light Heavyweight Championship fight after this word from our local stations as we await the windup of the 9th round.
Hey, Matt. Matt, we're losing this fight. We're 4 rounds down. You gotta pull out these rounds. You got to pull these rounds out.
But you're not
Matt,
doing
you
nothing.
got to pull this out.
You gotta punch with him. Punch with him.
All right. Round 10 underway, but first some of the punishment Saad Muhammad took in the last round. Here in round 10, Bilal Muhammad, Saad Muhammad's manager, told him between rounds, champ, you're at least 4 rounds behind. You've got to fight with him. You're losing this fight. It's almost over.
Get off of that! Get off of that! Get off of that! Get off the rope! Get off! Get off of that!
You stay on the ropes that way. You let Braxton lay his head upon your shoulder, and you're asking for it.
Under! Get your foot right! Get your foot up!
There is no foot movement in Saad Muhammad. No sign of a late comeback yet. Loving blows by Braxton. Blood again from Saad Muhammad's nostrils. And a constant flow from the 4th round on. Chants of the crowd speak for themselves. Two stunning lefts by Braxton, and a third as Saad Muhammad was attempting to keep him away with repeated jabs. But the punishing blows by Braxton. A minute, 2 minutes and 5 seconds into the 10th round.
Get off the rope! Get off the rope!
Saad Muhammad's corner imploring him to get off the ropes, and now Saad Muhammad trying to rally back. But Braxton quickly, first to the midriff and then up with those same short snapping blows. And he is in deep trouble and he goes down.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
The fight continues. Remember, the 3 knockdown rule is waived. There is nothing but blood now on Saad Muhammad's upper lip. This time, he appears ready to lose his title. They're going in. They're trying to stop the fight. That's it. Arthur McCann, he stops it. The corner went in to try to protect Matthew Saad Muhammad. There was no resiliency, no recuperativeness. Not today. Dwight Braxton, a tough cookie, 5 feet 6.5 inches tall, with a reach of only 71 inches. 28 years of age is the new WBC World Light Heavyweight Champion. From Camden, New Jersey, the Camden Buzzsaw. You heard him say in the pre-fight interview, the man has a perfect style for me. Well, he apparently was right. Let's look at the knockdown again. But we will always have to conjecture with the notion that that last-minute weight loss also had something to do with it, taking no credit away from Dwight Braxton. And then the mysterious question, how How could he have been over? Were the scales wrong the way he told us in the pre-fight interview? But that was the knockdown, and as quickly as possible, we will get Dwight Braxton to our position at ringside. Right here is where the fight was stopped. A continuous pummeling, incessant blows from the 4th round on. Arthur McCanny stopping it, even before, as you see, the corner man trying to get to his fighter to protect him from further damage. Yes, that man is the WBC light heavyweight champion of the world. Next question. When will there be a unification match between him and Michael Spinks, the Olympic gold medal winner, middleweight classification, who is at ringside here tonight, and who's standing now right at ringside telling everybody who will listen that he is the true champion?